What's happening, everybody? Welcome into the Wilbur and Gold Show. I'm your host, Will Dalton, a.k.a. Wilbur and Gold, on a Monday. And a lot of basketball over the weekend. A few little Star Wars nuggets came out over the weekend. But, of course, rightfully so, Tar Heel fan over here. And finally, all the pieces, minus Brady Manick, are back in place. The Iron Four, I guess what it'll be called now. The inevitable has finally come true, and Caleb Love has joined RJ Davis, has joined Leaky Black, and has joined Armando Bacot, all coming back for the Carolina Tar Heels that made it to the national title game. So I think it's safe to say that the 2023 national title will be going through, well, it won't be going through Chapel Hill, but it'll be going through the Tar Heels. They will be one of the teams, one of the main favorites coming up in this college basketball season. So I'm super excited about that. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but I got to start with the obvious for us sports fans, especially specifically basketball, specifically more so than that, NBA fans. This fucking Brooklyn Nets thing, man, with KD and Kyrie, and Harden came into it there for a few minutes, and then Ben Simmons came into it. And now Ben Simmons not going to play Game 4, even though it was reported that he was going to be back for Game 4. He's got, quote-unquote, back soreness, I think. We'll tackle all those things briefly, but I got to say, man, this KD stuff, we got to let we have to hold KD accountable. Whoever we is, whether it's the media. I mean, honestly, forget the media and all the critics and experts on Twitter about such things. KD needs to hold himself accountable because he left. I mean, you see and now the Warriors lost yesterday, going for the sweep down in Denver. I feel very comfortable in saying I think Golden State will. I think that was one last little hurrah for Denver, kind of a pride playing game. And I tell you what, they came out and they weren't having it yesterday. They dealt with Golden State, and Golden State damn near came back and snuck up and did it, but Denver held strong and they won Game 4, and they still trail 3-1. I do not see them doing what the Cavs did in 2016 and making a 3-1 comeback. I think Golden State will handle their business down in San Francisco in Game 5. Whether that's tomorrow or the next day. I haven't looked at the schedule. I know there's been a lot of 3-day rest days throughout these NBA playoffs, which usually I'm used to. They play you got every other day, and then I guess a 3-day rest when you travel or something like that. But you see where the Warriors are at right now and how quickly they rebounded after KD pretty much broke up the dynasty, leaving, wanting to go do his own thing. This is the thing about KD, and, there's a lot of non-empathetic people in the media that talk about sports, that talk about athletes, and I get it. They're going to come back and say, well, that's my job. Yes, I understand that, but you can still have empathy for a player and what they want to do or their situation, because these are human beings that we're talking about here, not just pawns on a chessboard. If you will. Like, these are real people in real situations. And KD, I dare say the reason he's so damn sensitive and feels the need to clap back at so many people on social media, even those that are like, Fatty Pants 96 in the comments that you don't even know, that's, a quote unquote nobody compared to KD. The reason he's always been that sensitive, and probably, Stephen A. Smith describes him as the most thin-skinned superstar we've ever seen, and I think that's pretty accurate, is because he's always, you got to understand, athletes are ultra competitive. And when you're as talented as KD is, and you've always been labeled as second best, second pick in the draft, second place, second to Russell Westbrook for there for a while in Oklahoma City. And then, obviously he goes and he joins the super team that beat him when the Thunder were up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals in 2016. I want to say that happened. And then you go and join the team that did that to you, that clearly didn't even need KD. Now, obviously, you get KD, you become a dynasty like they did there for about 3 years until, injuries led to the Raptors or whoever beat the Warriors that final year. I think it was the Raptors and Kawhi. That was that year. Yeah. But, of course, he got flack for that. But he wanted to win his titles. He was tired of hearing the noise, I'm sure. And he goes to Golden State, joins a team that really was was already established. And, we know the rest of the story. They were a dynasty there for about 3 years, back-to-back champions. But I dare say, although KD was the most talented player on that team, Steph was still the leader. Steph was still the backbone. Steph, Clay, and Draymond, that's still the backbone of the franchise. KD just happened to be the most talented player. And I think, based on events that happened between, whether it was Dre and KD and just KD and, Steve Kerr, and just whoever else throughout the Golden State Warriors organization, I think KD yet again was feeling like, even though he was the most talented, he still felt like second place compared to Steph or that whole, Splash Brothers or just the Steph, Clay, Draymond dynamic that had already established the Golden State Warriors as what we knew them to be. KD just was the cherry on top. And so, unfulfilled yet again, he goes to Brooklyn and decides, you know what? I want to run this. My light just burned out. I want to do my own thing here. And so he goes and he teams up with Kyrie, and a lot of people thought he was going to maybe go to the Knicks. They decided to go to Brooklyn. And, you could see this coming from a mile away. If you know anything about KD, Kyrie, and then obviously James Harden joined the next year and then obviously got out this year throughout the year going to Philly. If you know anything about those three personalities, but, this is was year 3 and is year 3 as Brooklyn is now down 3-0 to the Boston Celtics and have gotten manhandled in this series. This is year 3 of KD and Kyrie together. And yet, that phase that teams or super teams or talented teams go through whenever they add a star or a couple stars together. It's like you don't necessarily expect them to win the title. Like LeBron and AD when they got together in year 1 over there in LA with the Lakers. It's like you don't necessarily expect them to win a title just because it's all very new and they haven't gelled yet. But you do expect that they'll be very good and make probably a good run. But you don't necessarily expect them to win a title over teams that are already kind of gelled and established. They might get the better of them. But then in year 2 and year 3, that's when you expect the titles to start rolling in. Well, we're now in year 3 of KD and Kyrie, and they're about to probably get swept whenever game 4 is. It's either tonight or tomorrow night in Brooklyn, because they don't want to go back to Boston. They don't want to. Trust me, this will be done in 4 games, especially now with this Ben Simmons stuff. Ben Simmons was supposed to make his debut for the first time in, I guess, about a year now, maybe a little more, for Brooklyn, and now it's like, back soreness, not going to play. So they still feel like they're in that phase of coming together and gelling, and it's year 3. They're still in that phase of figuring it out and trying to put the pieces together. The problem is the pieces are never going to completely gel and come together because these pieces don't fit, and pieces that don't fit are never going to come together. You can maybe wing it there for a little while based on your talent in the regular season and maybe in a play-in tournament like Brooklyn did this year, but you get against a Boston, you get against a Golden State, which is the irony in all this. They won't get to Golden State because they won't make it past Boston after game 4, and they most likely get swept. But it's just funny where Golden State, how quickly they rebounded. They went through, obviously, Clay being hurt and Steph being hurt in either that first or second year. I think it was the first year after KD left. I think Steph was hurt and Clay was hurt. And it was kind of a rebuilding year. They got James Wiseman in the draft, which is going to be a nice pickup for them. I don't know if we'll see him throughout these playoffs, But then you got Jordan Poole. Like, oh my God. Like, this is the third now of the Splash Brothers. They're triplets now. And he's going to be up and coming. And now a lot of people that maybe were casual NBA fans or just didn't know are being introduced to Jordan Poole for the first time. You know, he's been doing stuff like this throughout the regular season this year specifically, and you could see this coming, but he is really popping off in these playoffs. I'm actually going to see if I can get some of his rookie cards here fairly soon. But you just look where the Warriors are, and KD, because of his insecurity and because of his needing to be the alpha or needing to be the backbone of a franchise or needing to be the number one of a franchise as opposed to just, which, I mean, again, do what you want to do. Like, I'm not, but just know that decision, depending on who you elect to do this with, Kyrie, as opposed to a Steph, Clay, Draymond, is going to have ramifications on the outcome. And we're seeing it here right now, live in front of your fucking face. And, you know, James Harden came into the mix, which was not a piece that was going to work because he's got his own health and, you know, things off the court issues with the way he views things. You know, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden all are some of the, you know, like if you could assemble a more just personalities, I don't know if maybe some would go as far as to call just divas or personalities. There's always an issue, non-basketball or health related, or just, you know, I'm unhappy with something. It's those guys. And then you add Ben Simmons now to the mix, who even knows what the hell is going on. I personally, my belief, and listen, if this is what you need to do to figure it out, do it. But don't tell us that you're got a back problem when you haven't played in a year. Like, you're not going to war. You're not going, like, you're playing basketball and your team needs you, if anything, to distribute and play defense, because we know it, you know, just going to the basket, he can maybe get around 20, but like, he doesn't even need to shoot. You have Kyrie and KD for that. They just need you to set it up and play defense. They're down. Your team, Ben Simmons, is down 3-0. So unless you are just, this is a real mental thing that you're dealing with and it hasn't been made public, like, obviously he's dealt with some mental shit. He had the yips in Philly. My personal belief, I think he's been seeing a sports psychologist and he's just been trying to get his shit right that way. That's my own personal opinion of what's going on behind the scenes. Like, what back soreness could you have not playing in a year that you, like, your team is down 3-0. They need you. They need you to distribute. They need you on D. And you're like, like your team face is being swept. And you, like, come on now. Like, so unless there's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know about because you don't want it to be public knowledge, which, again, fine, just don't tell us you have back soreness. So I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Ben Simmons, but this thing in Brooklyn, man, I always had a gut feeling. I didn't say it with my chest necessarily, but I always had a gut feeling from the beginning. KD and Kyrie, like, just those two personalities were not going to work. They're two of the greatest all-time talents, but we're learning in real time that you got to have chemistry and talent to make a super team work. You need a humility character like Steph Curry that is willing to come off the bench while he kind of gets himself back into form and is completely okay with it and fucking dominates for the most part while doing it, or Giannis that has a level of humility where he would be okay. Like, you have to have that type of humility of your pieces, like a Tom Brady that takes less money to open some cap space for the Buccaneers this year. He's done that in years past as well. We saw when the whole reason the Steph, KD, the whole dynasty was working was because KD and Steph and Clay did take less money to be able to bring certain pieces back, and that's what you have to be able to have. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. You know, you got your bag, but you're not going to – you lose Devontae Adams, and you're not going to be able to bring in the type of pieces that a Buccaneers are going to be able to do or Chiefs are going to be able to do because Mahomes has a very team-friendly deal. And you have to have that level of buy-in in order to make it work. So that topic was all I had time for today. I think I'm going to stream some video games tonight. I appreciate you guys tuning in. That's Monday. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm Will Dalton, a.k.a. Wilbur and Gold. We'll see you next time right here on the Wilbur and Gold Show.